With a strong spirit and unique sound, singer-songwriter Judy Paster takes listeners on a musical journey extending a beautiful branch of serenity and escape from the chaos of everyday life. While evoking inspiration, Paster's music resonates with listeners spanning multiple genres and generations, and even further into the musical cosmos, conveying the tales and weaving the dreams of life. Judy Paster has garnered numerous music awards, including the 2021 Josie Music Awards for Folk Americana Artist of the Year and Canadian Covenant Award for co-writing the Jazz Blues Song of the Year. And she is a three-time Gospel Music Association Covenant Award nominee and has recorded with the Southern Gospel legends, the Gaithers. Well, Judy Paster has released a powerful and pure new single, Love Should Be Brave. It is an elegant and authentic arrangement, making this an unforgettable tune that will speak to the hearts of listeners everywhere and carry them on an enchanting musical journey. So let's welcome one of the most experienced musical talents, a superstar that is making waves in the music industry, the one and the only Judy Paster. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so great to meet you and to be here, Ward.
Yes, we follow each other on social media, and we followed each other for the last few years. And this is the first time we've actually met, well, virtually in person.
Correct. It's so great to actually see you and have you in front of me. I have been following you for a long time.
Well, I have been doing the same with your career as well. And I understand, I want to kind of step back in time here because I understand that you grew up in Pennsylvania. And what was your first introduction to music?
My first introduction was, well, I guess when I was a little girl, I would see females playing guitar, and I wanted to do that. So around 8 years old, I asked, well, we're taking piano lessons, and I wanted guitar, and I asked my parents, and they said, okay, and that was my introduction.
So you can play both piano and guitar?
Well, I mean, I play a drop of piano now, but I mean, when I was, you know, how parents give their children music lessons sometimes, and so I was just learning the basics. Yeah.
Well, what kind of led you down that musical path in the very beginning? Okay, so you were seeing female guitar players and singers. What kind of artists inspired you?
Well, I think that originally I have a brother that's 10 years older, and he was into like classic rock. I grew up in the Northeast, so I wasn't really surrounded with a lot of country music or any gospel music at that time. But I would hear his music, like he liked Linda Ronstadt. He liked some of those classic folk singer-songwriters or folk rock or whatever you call them from, I guess, the 70s. And so I was like exposed to that sound at a very young age. So I always had that like singer-songwriter influence.
So when did you start writing your own songs?
I started at 8 years old. I took a couple chords that the guitar teacher taught me, and I had some poetry, and I put the chords to the poetry. So it's always been very organic and natural. And so, I mean, maybe 20 years ago, I really started penning songs. But 10 years ago, when I moved to Nashville, I got more serious about songwriting and just gained an understanding of co-writing and began to really like expand. And then the last 5 years, I've hit it pretty hard.
Well, which musical genre led you to Nashville? I mean, most people would say country, but was there another one?
I think that definitely I was connecting with some of the kind of non-denominational worship scene here. And so I would come down and I would play songwriter rounds, singer-songwriter rounds. And my music tends towards country just naturally because of the singer-songwriter thing. So it's got the elements of country, folk, rock in it already. And then I was doing some of the Christian stuff. And was just connecting with people down here. And the more I came and played at the singer-songwriter rounds, and then just like met, did worship and met people in that scene, it kind of all just connected for me. And really not like the last 5 years, I'm not really I don't do Christian music per se. I do music for it's for everybody. And you can be a Christian and love it. You can not be a Christian and love it. I just feel called more to like a greater expanse of people groups, and that really feels like what has hit home for me.
I've been hearing a lot of other artists saying the same thing. A lot of artists grew up in church. That's where they started singing, and that's where they were learning music. And a lot of times that they kind of stick with that genre, possibly that becoming their career. But I've been hearing from other artists that even though they may have started there, they're led into, could be rock, it could be pop, it could be country, and I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think everybody should take their God-given talents and expand it out to the whole world to hear. And it's even kind of strange. And maybe you've seen this in Nashville. I'm seeing a lot of other country artists, even well-known artists, kind of adding a little bit of gospel to their playlist all of a sudden, something that I haven't seen for years.
It's probably just because we need, I think, faith. I mean, you either have it or you don't, and either way, it's a personal, choice and decision, and also it's just, I think, it's just how you move through the world, whatever your compass is. But I think probably more and more people are needing some kind of a compass, just because of the state of the world that we live in now. I didn't grow up in church, so I didn't even like start with that. I'm actually Jewish, so which is something you didn't know, and I don't, and I'm not sure if Sherry knows that either. But that is actually my upbringing. So I mean, I was bat mitzvahed when I was 13, like Jesus, and so I really did not have I had like a faith in God. Now I feel very purposeful that I'm called to all people. So it's neat.
Yeah, I mean, and it was funny because when I was doing my research about you, I was actually surprised to learn that you were a three-time Gospel Music Association Covenant Award nominee.
Mm.
And because, I followed your music, you're right, it's, like folk music, it's country, you just have that vibe, and I'm sure you've probably heard this a million times. You've probably been compared to Sheryl Crow a lot. Um,
Yeah.
and but you have such an incredible talent. Tell me real quickly, how did you get connected in singing with the Gaithers of all people?
Um, I actually I did a project with the children and grandchildren that live here in Franklin. So they showed up. I was leading worship at a um, non denominational Salvation Army church in East Nashville. And this was a few years back. And they showed up there, the Jennings. So Barry is the son in law, and Suzanne is the Gaithers' daughter. And they found out through the grapevine that I was doing a Kickstarter at that time, and that I needed a producer, and they were interested, and they approached me, and they said, "Have you ever heard of the Gaithers?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, who are you?" And he said, I'm the president of whatever you call it, the Gaither.
Yeah, music group or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing. He's the president of it, and I thought maybe he was like a publisher or something. And I was like, oh. And so the relationship began, and they brought their son Will into it, and they brought a lot of people in that world into that album, and so that was pretty exciting.
Wow, it's absolutely amazing that you never ever know where you could be at in a particular time, and then that particular person just shows up and changes things. You have had, all right, you're a multiple music award winner in multiple genres, and which I think is just absolutely incredible. Now,
Thanks.
Judy, I was listening to all of your songs prior to our interview, and even today, prior to the interview, I was thinking the word fresh popped in my mind. But I don't like using the word fresh with music because today people say fresh meaning different. I mean, for your music, fresh is it's just pure. It's raw. It's very well produced, but not overproduced. Not like a lot of these things we hear on the radio, but it's so relatable to the listener. I mean, how did you form or create the sound that you have today?
Honestly, it's just, it's I mean, vocal training, but vocal training doesn't give you your voice. It just pulls out whatever is already in you and develops it through technique. So it's just what God has given me. My voice is probably the most important thing that I have, and the guitar playing just goes with it, and it's just like the love of my life. Besides God and besides my husband, it's like something I love. So
Well, yeah, I understand that you are also a Canadian Covenant Award winner for co-writing the Jazz Blues Song of the Year. How did you get into jazz blues?
I didn't really, honestly. The song, the actual song, the idea, the seed was born when I was visiting my parents in Pennsylvania, and my dad was sick, and he's since passed away, but he had like dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of thing, and it was just towards the beginning, and for some reason, I was in a room and I was reading the Song of Solomon, and um, I was reading about do not awaken love before it's time. And the song idea started to form there, and I started to write lyrics. I came back to Nashville, and at that time, so I was visiting my parents, like I said, and I was in a room reading, and I was for some reason I was reading the Song of Solomon, and I come across the scripture that says, "Do not awaken love before it's time." And I started to pen some lyrics and some sort of melody with that. And then when I got back to Nashville, I called one of my co-writers, Bill DeLuigi, and we were going to finish the song. And during that season of time, my friend Sean Spicer, who is an award-winning Canadian instrumentalist, contacted me and wanted to collaborate. And so he was looking for like more a folk country writer to write with, and that was me. And the three of us finished the song, and I did a vocal. I cut it as like a songwriter would, and a beautiful track called "Awaken My Love." But for him, he wanted to submit it for the Covenant Awards, which is the equivalent of the Dove Awards here in America. So it's put on by the Gospel Music Association. So we took the vocal out because he's an instrumentalist, and we added a French horn. And the French horn gave it this jazzy sound. And so it wasn't like I was writing jazz music, but it just happened, and then we won. So it was kind of fun.
Well, I mean, what does it mean to you to win these types of awards?
I think the thing that I really got out of that, it was, and really any kind of music awards, especially on like a bigger scale, like a Dove Award um, well, any award really, but it really just affirms that I'm where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and that I just need to just keep on.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. A lot of people that I talk to, they just don't get caught up in it, but it does bring exposure. It brings exposure to the person in the industry, to the fans. So, there's some big positives of winning an award. Let's talk about your brand new, very powerful single, Love Should Be Brave, which is out now, ladies and gentlemen. So how did that song come about?
That song came about because a friend of mine who is a full time writer, he lives in New Mexico, but he visits Nashville frequently, is getting a lot of film and TV placements. And we decided to give writing a try. I had never written with him before. My husband actually pointed him out and said, I think you should write with him. And I said, okay. We were at a show where we had both performed in Nashville. And so we set up a write, and he had this idea, Love Should Be Brave. He just had the little Love Should Be Brave, it'll have its sweet way with your heart. He played me several ideas. Sometimes I bring the idea to the table, sometimes someone else does, but he had that and I just loved it. And we wrote the song. And as I was in the studio cutting it for film and TV for him to pitch, it just started to resonate in a way that I was like, this would be really different for me because I've been doing fully produced, though like you pointed out, pure, but fully produced country Americana tracks and releasing them and um, just having like not something so pure as what this is. And
Yeah.
I just decided that this is a part of my artistry. Sometimes you come kind of full circle. I started with more spiritual sounding music, and I just felt like, you know what, this is a good time just to say, hey, this is a part of me too, because there are a lot of people that like my music in Nashville aren't necessarily exposed to Christian music, or they're into they're not into God necessarily. And I just that song, Love Should Be Brave, it's not a Christian song. It's not anything. It's just a declaration, and love is God. Love is everything that we desire on this planet if you're not a nut. And so you know, I was just like, I want to release this, and I did. And I feel good about it just because it's like a sense of freedom for me to do something different.
Well, you ought to feel good about it. You ought to feel very good about it. And I completely agree. It's funny because you could listen to, let's say, contemporary Christian music today, and you can hear songs that never once mention the name Jesus in it. You could play it on pop radio, and no one would even know the difference. So I
Yeah.
think that for people like us that know the Lord, that have Him in our heart, regardless where we're at, we can let His light shine in us, through us, and to those around us without, hitting people over the head with the book. So,
Exactly.
yeah, and of course, the Bible simply says the greatest of all things is love, and
Mhm.
love should be brave. And I think the title of the song is absolute truth. Love should be brave. And for those that step out in love, they are being brave to do those things, even like Jesus did, loving the unlovable. And that's what we're supposed to do today. And I think you have a very powerful hit on your hands here, Judy.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you this because, and I get a lot of new artists, upcoming artists that come onto the program. And I was listening to you talk about songwriting. And I've always wondered this. So I'm going to ask you because you're very experienced in this area. Being a songwriter, and let's say you cut a demo, either a demo to possibly record on an album for yourself or a song that could be shopped around to other artists. What is the
Mhm.
difference in actually recording a demo of a song and then recording that song for an album, what's the major differences there?
Well, a demo could be as simple as a guitar and a vocal, but done professionally. So it's just, but unless you want to record like that style, like have an acoustic album or something like that, then you would add more instrumentation for me, like Love Should Be Brave, for example. It's not really a demo. When we did it, it was because for film and TV, it needs to be the full package. It needs to be mixed and mastered, and everything needs to be ready to go if it gets placed. So therefore, it's radio ready if it goes to radio, and it's record ready if I want to release it myself. So there's not that much difference for me. I don't really just like do demos unless, I mean, I do them at home, but when I go into the studio, I usually just do a full thing. And then even if it's going to be just used for like going to a publisher who's pitching it, if it's a country song, let's say to country artists or just whatever it is. But I usually keep it pretty stationary now. I do what I do. And that way, then if I want to release it, I can. If it gets placed, that's fine. Keep it the same.
I agree with that because I think it cuts down on a lot of production. You only have to do it one time, and if you do it well the first time, why mess around with it? So, be,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be used in multiple areas. Now, what was it like for you to go live on Opry Nashville Radio?
Oh, it was so much fun. I was so excited. I was nervous, but it was really, really fun. And Marcia Campbell she did the all nighter. They have since restructured. So Devin O'Day and Marcia Campbell don't have their shows on there anymore, but they both had them on there for years. And I went on Marcia's show. She had me on when I released my album Like Stardust, which was 2019. So before the COVID. And I just went in and hung out with her for I think it was a few hours actually, and got to sing on Opry radio. And she interviewed me just like what we're doing. And we chit chatted about different things. It was really fun.
Wow, now you're pretty well known in Nashville. You perform a lot locally in Nashville. Um, are you planning on any type of tours outside that to grow the fan base?
Yes and no. Yes, I am. But no, it's not planned yet. I mean, I've got stuff coming up this summer, like the Blue Plate Special, which is like a radio show out of Knoxville. It's like a live taping that a lot of country and Americana artists hit. And then I do that like on my way to Gatlinburg for the Songwriter Festival. And I'm doing the Franklin International Film Festival. So, Franklin, Tennessee. I am performing at their fundraiser, which is coming up. And then I think I'll be at the actual like film festival too. We'll see how that all goes. But so I have a lot of like interesting things coming up in Tennessee, but also like moving like out into East Tennessee. I don't have like a Florida tour or a Philadelphia, where I'm from, tour booked, but all of it's like on my radar for the next year, 2 years, like in this immediate future. I want and need to do that. Financially, it just makes sense, and it just makes sense. So yeah.
So, what are some of your musical goals?
It's kind of twofold. As an artist, I would love to play theaters, bigger stages. Theaters are kind of my goal because it's more intimate, and it like would receive better what I give. I think. Um, so there's that. So that has to do with booking. Um, and anything else that comes with that, like another level of the booking. TV is always fun. I've been on like morning show in Nashville and love to do TV. And I like being on camera. So it's fun. I like dressing up and all that. And I love singing and playing. So it just all works together. So that's one goal. The theater's is kind of something that I see. I don't have a full band, but here in Nashville, I mean, I don't have a permanent full band, but you hire people here and it comes together fairly easily. I have some very great players that I'm connected with, so all of it can come together. It's a whole, how it is. It's a whole world of
Oh yeah.
hiring and practice and all that, but it's all a part of what we do and a part of what I do. And then the other goal is I'm really interested in getting my music into film and TV because, again, it's like there's a financial blessing in that. And also, my music, I think, really lends itself to a lot of the programs that we watch on just regular, whatever you're watching on your Netflix or your Amazon Prime or any of these programs. Or it could be positive TV. I definitely am like connected with all of that and pushing for that to open up for me. Yeah.
Well, and I can see that. I can see where your music being used in film. It could be a romantic love story or any of the things of that. A drama of some sort. Your music fits film, and wow. Now have you been on the Grand Ole Opry yet? Is that a goal?
Well, it's going to be happening here pretty soon because the Josie Music Awards are being held at the Grand Ole Opry House. So the 2022 award show. So that's October 23rd, and I'm up for 3 awards. So if I win, I'll have that circle moment. They are bringing some performers in for that from the nominees, but I haven't heard yet about that. So, but I'll definitely be there. As far as performing, yes, I would love to perform there. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you definitely have what it takes, Judy. And ladies and gentlemen, Judy Paster's brand new hit single, Love Should Be Brave. It is a beautiful and a conversational piano-driven ballad crafted from real-life experiences and raw emotion. And it boasts Judy's uniquely transparent vocals and a production that is simply simple but yet powerful. So buy the record and be blessed by one of the most purest talents in country and folk music today, and the one and the only Judy Paster. So head over to judypaster.com to buy the new single. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, what do I say on this show? When it comes to recording artists, buy. That's what keeps this industry moving and keeps that music helping you to make brand new memories. So again, buy the new single, check out her tour dates, and be sure to go see her when she comes to your city. Judy, much success and blessings to you.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, head over to Judy Paster. Now that is spelled Paster. At the bottom of your screen, judypaster.com. Again, buy the new single, Love Should Be Brave. I can tell you one thing, by the time you end listening that song, you're going to be singing to it over and over again. And please share it with all of your friends as well. And we need to push country radio to pick up that single and to play it from coast to coast. So again, ladies and gentlemen, judypaster.com. And again, Judy, thank you so much for honoring us with your time and your presence today. And ladies and gentlemen, to all of my viewers and my listeners, stay tuned because I will be right back after this.